Imagine waking up every morning feeling lighter, brighter, and happier, no matter what the world throws at you. Sounds impossible? Well, it's not magic, it's a choice. Every single day, you have the power to decide, will I let life make me miserable or will I choose happiness? Today, I want to talk to you about something simple yet life-changing. How to push yourself to choose happiness every single day. You see, happiness is not something that knocks on your door. It's something you invite in, something you nurture inside your heart, something you work for, even when the mind says, I can't. So let's explore how we can train ourselves to become masters of our own happiness. Happiness is not something that simply happens to you. It is not waiting for the perfect job, the perfect relationship, or the perfect day. Many of us fall into the trap of thinking that if only life were a little easier, if only circumstances were a little better, then we could be happy. But the truth is, happiness does not come from circumstances. It comes from the way we choose to respond to them. Life will always present challenges, difficulties, and moments that test our patience, our strength, and our peace of mind. It could be a work problem that seems impossible to solve, a relationship that feels strained, or an unexpected event that throws your plans into chaos. In all these moments, the external world may feel beyond our control, but there is something very powerful that is always within our control, our choice. We can choose to dwell on the pain, the disappointment, and the unfairness, or we can choose to respond in a way that nurtures our inner happiness. Choosing happiness is not about ignoring reality or pretending that everything is perfect. It is about recognizing that no matter how turbulent the storm outside, you have a calm place within yourself where joy, peace, and contentment can always exist. When you make this choice consciously, something magical happens. The same situation that once frustrated or angered you starts to feel lighter. You start to see possibilities instead of problems, lessons instead of obstacles, and hope instead of despair. It is a daily practice, a small decision repeated over and over again. Sometimes in the morning when you wake up, sometimes in the middle of a stressful day, sometimes before you go to bed at night. Each moment becomes an opportunity to choose happiness, and over time, this choice transforms your life. It empowers you to navigate challenges with grace, to savor moments of joy more fully, and to radiate positivity to everyone around you. This is why, if there is one truth to remember, it is that happiness is a choice, and the power to choose it is always in your hands, no matter what life throws at you. Starting your day with gratitude is one of the simplest yet most profound ways to push yourself toward happiness. Think about the very first moment when you open your eyes in the morning. Your mind is blank, your heart is fresh, and the day ahead is a canvas waiting to be painted. Most of us, however, unconsciously allow our minds to drift straight into worry, into thinking about unfinished tasks, problems we might face, or mistakes from yesterday. We jump into the day with a sense of lack. I don't have enough, I haven't achieved enough, this isn't fair. And that immediately sets the tone for a stressful, unhappy day. But what if instead we paused for a moment and chose a different path? What if the first thought we allowed into our mind was one of gratitude? Gratitude is like sunlight for the soul, even in the smallest things. The warmth of your bed, the air filling your lungs, the sunlight touching your skin, the chance to see a loved one smile. There is a reason to feel grateful. When you consciously recognize these small blessings, something shifts inside you. Your mind stops focusing on what is missing and begins to notice what is already present. This simple practice rewires your brain to see abundance rather than scarcity, joy rather than frustration, hope rather than despair. And it doesn't just change your mood, it changes the way you engage with life. You become calmer, more patient, more generous, and more open to the opportunities that each day brings. Over time, this practice of morning gratitude becomes a habit, a lens through which you see the world. Challenges no longer feel like insurmountable obstacles. They become lessons to learn from. Difficult people no longer drain your energy. They become opportunities to practice compassion. Even when life is messy, gratitude gives you a center, a place of peace and happiness that is always available as long as you remember to look for it. So each morning, before you check your phone, before you think about your to-do list, before the world demands your attention, take a moment to say, I am grateful. Feel it, breathe it in, let it fill you. It is a small decision with a monumental effect, a daily choice that slowly, steadily, and powerfully nudges you toward happiness. Being mindful and aware of our thoughts and emotions is one of the most transformative steps we can take toward happiness. Many of us go through life on autopilot, reacting to situations, people, and events without truly noticing what is happening inside us. Our minds are like crowded rooms filled with worries, judgments, regrets, and plans. And often we become so entangled in these thoughts that we forget the present moment entirely. But happiness, real happiness, does not live in the past or the future. It lives in the present. When we pause and observe our thoughts and emotions without immediately judging them or reacting, something extraordinary happens. We start to see patterns in the way our mind works. We notice how quickly a small frustration can escalate into anger, how a fleeting disappointment can spiral into sadness, or how an unkind word from someone can disturb our peace for hours. Awareness allows us to step back and create a space between stimulus and response. Instead of automatically reacting, we can choose to respond with clarity, calmness, and wisdom. This simple shift changes everything. It allows us to experience life more fully, to savor moments that would otherwise pass by unnoticed, and to prevent unnecessary suffering caused by impulsive reactions. Mindfulness is not about becoming perfect or eliminating negative thoughts and emotions entirely. It is about noticing them, understanding them, and letting them pass without clinging or pushing them away. When we practice this daily, happiness begins to feel less like a fleeting emotion and more like a stable, reliable companion. The storm may rage outside, challenges may arise, but inside there is a calm awareness that anchors us. It is a profound inner freedom, the freedom to observe, to choose, and to experience joy even when circumstances are far from ideal. And over time, as we cultivate this practice, we discover that life itself becomes richer. Every smile becomes brighter, every conversation more meaningful, and even ordinary moments, drinking a cup of tea, walking in the zoo, and listening to music, become sources of happiness. This awareness, this mindfulness, is not a luxury. It is a necessity for anyone who wishes to live fully, deeply, and happily in every moment. Comparison is one of the most subtle yet powerful thieves of happiness, and it is something almost all of us fall into at some point in our lives. We live in a world where we are constantly bombarded with images, stories, and achievements of others, friends, colleagues, neighbors, people on social media, and it is so easy to start measuring our own worth against theirs. Why did they get that promotion and not me? Why are they happier than I am? Why do they have a better life? These thoughts seem harmless at first, but they slowly erode our inner peace and joy. When we compare ourselves to others, we lose sight of our own journey, our own growth, and our own blessings. We start defining our value based on someone else's standards, and this is a path that leads to endless dissatisfaction. The truth is, your life is unique. Your experiences, challenges, triumphs, and even failures are yours and yours alone. There is no other person in this world who has walked your exact path, faced your struggles, or learned the lessons you have learned. And yet, when we compare ourselves, we forget this. We begin to see only what we don't have, rather than what we do have, and happiness becomes dependent on external benchmarks instead of our own internal state. Letting go of comparison does not mean ignoring inspiration or dismissing admiration for others. It means appreciating others' achievements without letting them diminish your own sense of worth. It means celebrating your own progress, no matter how small, and understanding that every step forward is meaningful. When you shift your focus from comparing to appreciating, something beautiful happens. Your energy is no longer wasted on GA, lousy, or resentment, but instead flows into growth, creativity, and joy. You begin to notice the richness of your own life, the unique gifts you bring to the world, and the opportunities that are yours alone. You stop trying to fit into someone else's mold and start embracing the person you are meant to be. This shift is not immediate, it is a practice, a daily reminder that the only comparison that matters is the one with your past self. Are you kinder than you were yesterday? Are you more patient, more mindful, more compassionate? Are you learning, growing, and becoming a better version of yourself? When you measure yourself against yourself, you reclaim control over your happiness. You stop letting others dictate your self-worth, and you begin to cultivate an inner contentment that is unshakable. In the end, happiness is never about having more than others or being better than others. It is about fully embracing your journey, appreciating your life as it is, and understanding that your value is inherent, not comparative. Every time you resist the urge to compare, every time you pause and remind yourself that your life is enough, you are taking a conscious step toward lasting happiness. And the more you practice this, the lighter and freer your heart becomes, until you realize that joy was never outside of you. It was waiting all along, right inside your own soul. Acts of kindness, no matter how small, have an extraordinary power, not just to touch the lives of others, but to transform our own hearts in ways we often underestimate. Many of us think that happiness is something we receive from outside: success, money, praise, or recognition. But the truth is, some of the purest forms of joy come from giving. When you perform an act of kindness, even something as simple as offering a smile to a stranger, holding the door open for someone, or sending a thoughtful message to a friend, you create a ripple effect of positivity that goes far beyond what you can immediately see. The person receiving your kindness feels acknowledged, valued, and seen, but equally important, your own heart opens up. There is a subtle but profound shift inside you when you give without expecting anything in return. Your mind stops focusing on its own problems, worries, and limitations, and instead, it expands to include the well-being of others. This outward focus creates a sense of purpose, connection, and fulfillment that nothing material can replicate. Think about the last time someone did something unexpectedly kind for you. Perhaps it was a friend who reached out just when you were feeling low, or a stranger who offered help in a moment of difficulty. How did that make you feel? Warm, uplifted, grateful, and lighter. This is the same effect you create when you are kind to someone else. Kindness is like a boomerang. It always comes back to you, often multiplied in ways you could never predict. And the beauty of it is that it doesn't require grand gestures or wealth. It only requires awareness and willingness. In a world that often feels harsh, competitive, and self-centered, choosing kindness is a conscious rebellion, a deliberate choice to cultivate happiness for yourself while contributing positively to the lives of others. Over time, these small acts accumulate, not only building stronger bonds and relationships, but also creating a deep reservoir of inner joy. People who practice kindness regularly often report feeling lighter, more compassionate, and more resilient in the face of life's challenges. And here's the secret: the joy you feel from kindness is not fleeting. It has a lasting impact because it reinforces a fundamental truth: that we are all connected, that we have the capacity to make a difference, and that happiness grows exponentially when shared. So push yourself every day to look for opportunities to give, to uplift, to support, and to encourage. Smile at the cashier, listen intently to a friend, compliment someone sincerely, or even just send a message of appreciation. These small acts are seeds that blossom into a life filled with meaning, joy, and fulfillment. When you choose kindness as a daily practice, happiness stops being a distant goal. It becomes your natural state, arising effortlessly from a heart that is open, generous, and aware of the beauty in giving. One of the most important habits for cultivating happiness is learning to focus on what we can control and letting go of what we cannot. Life is filled with events, circumstances, and people that are beyond our influence. Traffic jams, sudden changes at work, other people's moods, unexpected financial setbacks. These things will always happen, and trying to control them is like trying to hold water in your hands. We often expend enormous energy worrying, complaining, or getting frustrated over situations that are simply out of our reach. And in doing so, we rob ourselves of peace, joy, and clarity. But when we turn our attention to what we can control, our actions, our attitudes, our thoughts, and our responses, something magical happens. Suddenly, life feels less chaotic and overwhelming, and we begin to realize that happiness is not about having a perfect life, but about navigating an imperfect one with presence, purpose, and grace. Focusing on what you can control allows you to reclaim your power. Instead of feeling like a victim of circumstances, you become the captain of your own ship. You choose how to respond to challenges, whether to approach them with patience or frustration, optimism or despair, kindness or anger. Even small choices, choosing to smile when someone is rude, choosing to take a deep breath before reacting, choosing to invest your energy in something meaningful, have an enormous impact on your happiness. It is also important to recognize that trying to control everything else is not only futile but exhausting. It leads to stress, disappointment, and a feeling of helplessness. By consciously letting go of the uncontrollable, you create space for creativity, clarity, and resilience. You begin to see opportunities in challenges, solutions in problems, and lessons in setbacks. Life does not have to be perfect for you to be happy. It only requires that you focus on your own actions and attitudes and nurture the parts of your life where you do have influence. This mindset also reduces resentment and envy because you stop comparing your life to others or wishing things were different. You accept what is and then work on what can be improved. And over time, this practice becomes a source of profound freedom. You no longer feel trapped by circumstances because you understand that your inner state is determined by your own choices, not by external events. Happiness, therefore, is a byproduct of this conscious focus on the controllable. The more you invest your energy in what you can influence, the way you think, feel, and act, the more empowered and joyful you become. Every time you release the need to control the uncontrollable, you experience a little more peace, a little more lightness, and a little more happiness. And slowly, steadily, this approach transforms not only your days but your life. You realize that true freedom and happiness are not about changing the world to suit you, they are about changing yourself in ways that allow you to thrive, no matter what the world throws at you. Shifting your perspective is one of the most powerful ways to nurture happiness in your life. So often we get stuck in a cycle of seeing problems as obstacles, setbacks as failures, and challenges as punishment. Life, in its unpredictable nature, has a way of testing us, sometimes with situations that seem unfair, sometimes with people who disappoint, and sometimes with circumstances that feel completely beyond our control. In those moments, it is easy to fall into despair, to ask, "Why me?" and to focus on all that has gone wrong. But here's the profound truth. Life is rarely about what happens to us. It is always about how we choose to interpret what happens to us. The same event can be seen through multiple lenses. A job loss, for instance, might feel like a devastating failure at first. Yet when you shift your perspective, it can become an opportunity to discover a new path, learn new skills, or pursue a passion you had long neglected. A difficult relationship can teach patience, empathy, and self-reflection. A health challenge can awaken gratitude for the body's resilience and for the moments we often take for granted. Every challenge carries a hidden lesson, a seed of growth, if only we are willing to look for it. Shifting perspective requires mindfulness and a conscious decision to see the bigger picture. It asks us to pause, breathe, and ask, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger, wiser, or more compassionate? Instead of being trapped in the weight of frustration or disappointment, we open ourselves to the possibility that life is teaching us something valuable. This does not mean denying the difficulty of our experiences or pretending everything is fine. It simply means choosing to see beyond immediate discomfort, frustration, or pain, and recognizing that every moment has the potential to contribute to our growth and happiness. Over time, this habit of reframing our experiences becomes transformative. We stop being passive victims of circumstances and start becoming active participants in the story of our lives. We begin to notice silver linings in storms, opportunities in setbacks, and blessings hidden in challenges. Even small shifts in perspective, seeing failure as feedback, criticism as insight, or a conflict as a chance to practice patience, can create enormous inner peace and contentment. Happiness, therefore, is not about having a perfect life. It is about cultivating a mind that can see value, meaning, and opportunity, even in perfect situations. Each time you consciously reframe a situation, each time you choose to see the lesson rather than the problem, you strengthen the habit of finding joy and purpose in life, no matter the circumstances. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, this practice changes the way you interact with the world. Challenges no longer intimidate you, setbacks no longer crush you. Life becomes less about surviving and more about thriving, because you have trained your mind to see with clarity, wisdom, and positivity. This is the secret. Happiness is not about controlling the world outside. It is about transforming the world within by shifting your perspective and seeing life through the lens of possibility, growth, and gratitude. The people, environments, and experiences we surround ourselves with have an enormous influence on our inner state and ultimately on our happiness. Every day, we are exposed to countless voices, energies, and influences, from the people we interact with, to the media we consume, to the conversations we engage in. It may seem subtle at first, but these influences quietly shape the way we think, feel, and act. If we are constantly around negativity, people who complain, criticize, or belittle, we begin to absorb that energy. Slowly, our own thoughts become clouded with pessimism, our hearts heavy with resentment, and our minds preoccupied with fear or doubt. Conversely, when we intentionally choose to surround ourselves with positivity, people who inspire, encourage, and uplift us, something extraordinary happens. Their energy becomes contagious. Their optimism fuels our own. Their kindness and compassion remind us of the beauty and potential in life. Choosing your environment is not about isolating yourself from reality or avoiding challenges. It is about consciously deciding where to invest your energy, attention, and focus so that you have the strength and clarity to live fully. This applies not just to people, but also to the content we consume, the books we read, the shows we watch, the social media we scroll through. They all leave impressions on our minds and hearts. Constant exposure to negativity, fear, or criticism creates a subtle, almost imperceptible shift in our attitude toward life. On the other hand, when we feed our minds with inspiration, stories of courage, acts of kindness, and wisdom, our perspective naturally becomes more positive and hopeful. Surrounding ourselves with positivity also extends to the physical spaces we inhabit. A cluttered, chaotic, or uninspiring environment can weigh heavily on our mood, while a clean, organized, and thoughtfully curated space can uplift and energize us. We often underestimate how much our surroundings influence our internal state. But the truth is, small, consistent choices in this area create profound impacts over time. This is why it is essential to be intentional about the company we keep and the energy we allow into our lives. Look around and ask yourself, do the people I spend the most time with lift me up or drain me? Does the content I consume inspire or discourage me? Do the spaces I occupy bring me peace or stress? The answers to these questions guide us toward a life where happiness can flourish naturally. And when you begin to make these conscious choices, you will notice a subtle but powerful shift. You start thinking more clearly, feeling more at ease, and approaching challenges with resilience and optimism. Surrounding yourself with positivity is not a one-time decision, it is a daily practice. It is a commitment to protect your inner peace, nurture your growth, and create a life where happiness is not dependent on fleeting circumstances, but on the steady, nurturing influence of the people, environments, and experiences you allow into your world. Over time, this practice becomes a cornerstone of your happiness, helping you maintain lightness, energy, and joy, even amidst life's inevitable storms. Laughter is one of the simplest yet most profound tools we have for cultivating happiness, and yet in our busy, stressed, and often serious lives, we tend to forget it. We take life so seriously, worrying about work, relationships, money, and the future, that we forget the magic that comes from a genuine, heartfelt laugh. But laughter is not just an emotional release, it is a natural medicine for the body and the soul. It reduces stress, relaxes the mind, and opens the heart. When we laugh even at ourselves, we remind ourselves that life is not meant to be a constant struggle or a series of battles to win. It is also meant to be enjoyed, savored, and celebrated. Finding humor in small moments, in the unexpected, or even in our mistakes, is a conscious practice that helps us step back from the weight of life's challenges. It shifts our perspective and allows us to see the lighter side of situations that might otherwise overwhelm us. Imagine a moment when something goes wrong, a missed train, a spilled cup of coffee, or a minor argument. If we react with frustration or anger, the moment becomes heavy and our energy drains away. But if we can smile or even laugh at the absurdity of the situation, the tension dissolves. Laughter does not make the problem disappear, but it makes us bigger than the problem. It reminds us that life is imperfect, and that is okay. The ability to laugh, especially at ourselves, is a sign of resilience, wisdom, and emotional intelligence. It frees us from taking life so seriously that every setback becomes unbearable. In addition, laughter is deeply contagious. When you laugh, you spread joy to those around you. Your smile, your lightness, your ability to find humor encourages others to do the same. This creates a ripple effect of positivity, strengthening bonds, easing tension, and fostering happiness collectively. Cultivating a sense of humor does not mean avoiding responsibility or ignoring challenges. It means embracing life fully, with all its imperfections, and choosing to find joy even in difficult moments. Over time, laughter becomes a habit, a tool you can consciously use to uplift your spirit, reconnect with your inner lightness, and bring happiness into every interaction. It reminds us that happiness is not always about solving problems, achieving goals, or waiting for perfect conditions. It is also about cultivating a heart that can delight, a mind that can see the absurdity in life, and a soul that can celebrate the beauty of being alive. By embracing laughter, we reclaim a vital part of our humanity. We remind ourselves and others that life, despite its trials and challenges, is meant to be enjoyed, savored, and filled with joy. And in that joy, no matter how fleeting or small, we find a deep, enduring happiness that sustains us through everything life throws our way. Committing to a daily happiness practice is one of the most powerful choices you can make in your life. Happiness, like any skill or quality, is not something that appears magically or passively. It is cultivated, nurtured, and trained over time. Imagine your mind and heart as a garden. If you leave it unattended, weeds of negativity, doubt, and stress will grow, and the flowers of joy, peace, and contentment will struggle to survive. But if you consciously water the garden every day with positive thoughts, gratitude, mindfulness, and acts of kindness, the flowers will bloom and happiness will become a natural, enduring part of your life. A daily practice does not have to be complicated or time-consuming. It could be as simple as taking a few moments each morning to reflect on what you are grateful for, or pausing in the middle of the day to take a deep breath and reconnect with yourself. It could involve journaling your thoughts, meditating, repeating positive affirmations, or even performing small acts of kindness each day. The key is consistency. Each day that you make this conscious effort, you strengthen the habit of happiness. Over time, these small, seemingly ordinary actions accumulate, creating a profound shift in your mindset and emotional state. Daily practice also trains you to recognize and release negative thought patterns. When challenges arise, as they inevitably will, you become more resilient, more composed, and better able to navigate difficulties without losing your inner peace. You learn to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. You start to see life not as a series of obstacles, but as an ongoing opportunity to cultivate joy, meaning, and fulfillment. Furthermore, committing to daily happiness practice is a declaration to yourself that you value your well-being, that you are willing to invest in your own growth, and that you understand happiness is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It shifts the locus of control back to you, reminding you that while you cannot always control circumstances, you can always control your mindset, your actions, and your attention. And the beauty of a daily practice is that it compounds over time. What begins as a small intentional effort becomes second nature. You begin to notice that happiness is no longer fleeting or dependent on external events. It becomes your baseline state, a reliable companion that you can access even in moments of stress, sadness, or uncertainty. In this way, a daily happiness practice is not just about feeling good, it is about transforming your life from the inside out. It is about cultivating a heart that is resilient, a mind that is calm, and a spirit that is aligned with joy. It empowers you to navigate life's ups and downs with grace, to inspire others with your light, and to create a life that is not merely survived but fully lived. Ultimately, the choice to commit to daily happiness is one of the most profound decisions you can make. It is a promise to yourself that no matter what life throws at you, you will nurture the inner garden of your heart, allowing joy, peace, and contentment to flourish. And in doing so, create a life that is deeply meaningful, richly fulfilling, and truly happy.